This episode of Blacktop Banter is brought to you by Crafco, the world's leading manufacturer of packaged pavement preservation materials and equipment for the asphalt industry. Learn more at crafco.com. All right. Here we are, midsummer, getting started. I guess late spring, early summer, and we're back at Blacktop Banter. We have a great guest today, and we're going to kick over, and I'm going to introduce this guy to you. So, we've been friends for a while, a couple of years now. And he's got some great stuff. We're going to lead into it. So let's go.
It's awesome.
All right. See that? I got the green lighting behind me. I know you can't see that on audio, but I can see it. That's for MPP. I was like,
is that what it is?
Yeah, for sure. I try to do that like with all the guests.
Much appreciated, brother.
Hey, no worries. So you were commenting beforehand, right? Like, oh man, you got a killer setup. Like, yeah.
It's insane. Yeah.
I was like, well, Chris did this. Now, like, I used to have all the good ideas and whatnot, but Chris is in the studio. Chris is doing all this stuff. So it's not, but this, like these chiseled, like cheekbones here and slight dimples, I did do that.
You did that?
I did do that. Chris didn't do that.
With lighting.
Oh, Chris said he did it with lighting. Yeah. No, it's been tough, dude. It's been a crazy year. It's been a while since you and I spoke. The guy who you're hearing is my good friend. I would say we're good friends. Zach Milewski. And, we've been friends for a while. I as I said, we got the green lighting behind us for National Pavement Partners. And not only that, SpotOnSite, right? You've been pushing that out. We've seen each other. We were at Charlotte last time, right? Had a great time. And since then, 8-figure Paver has come out. I really like that as well. I mean, there's a lot going on, and we'll break into that here a little bit later. But one thing, as I mentioned, we're good friends. You and I have great conversations when we're together. And I really enjoy that facet the most because I think when, not so much me maybe, because people are always like, what the heck is this guy doing? But when they see Zach, I don't think that their first impression is, I'm going to have an amazing, in-depth personal conversation with this guy. And you do that very, very well because you don't look that part, but you fit that part very well. And I think that makes you unique, and I think that's probably what attracted me to you as a friend right away, right? Is that this guy looks different as I look different, but he talks and speaks like I do. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself a little bit. I did introduce the businesses, but you can do that if you want to tell us your positions and kind of where you're located at. You're at one of the most beautiful cities in America. So I'll let you talk about that a little bit.
Right on, man. That was quite the introduction, man. Very humbling. I appreciate it. It means a lot, especially coming from you. And you're right. We always do have some really good conversation. I think you and I were quickly able to skip past the small talk and get into some real stuff along the way, which always helps. I don't do small talk particularly well. I'm like, oh gosh, this is painful. Yeah. So you and I are always just able to just kind of quickly get to meshing and get to substance, which is great. So
yeah,
man, I've been in the industry for almost 19 years now, man. And I mean, in the industry as in working in the industry. So be 36 this summer. And my parents have owned a paving company. They owned one as I grew up my entire life. And so I just grew up in the industry, similarly to a lot of people in our industry. And it's been one of those things where I've been carving and carving and carving. I've been up, down, sideways, all over this crazy thing. And it's led us to, you and I, both into different pieces within our industry now. We've got SpotOnSite, which is an app that we built to help National Pavement Partners scale. Our sales team, our production team, and improve work orders, that type of stuff. We got into 8-figure Paver, which is essentially all of my hardships and tough lessons and great mentorship all brought into one package to where we're able to help quickly scale companies, but not just that, but do it profitably. Because you and I both know this is a quick industry. You can make a lot of money, you can lose a lot of money really fast.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's true.
um,
Well,
and
let's talk about some of that framework and bust into that, right? Because you don't just do those things. You don't just have experiences. Like you don't just decide one day, I'm going to go buy all these experiences and make a training course or mentorship or whatever it is on it, right? That comes through life and comes through experiences. Um, but as I said earlier, we met on the internet kind of first, right? Commenting
yep,
on other people's posts and whatever, and then all of a sudden you kind of dig in a little bit, and you're like, man, I like the way this guy speaks. I like the way this guy moves. And we first met, and I spoke about this a little bit on different podcasts and other times because this isn't our first time doing a podcast together. It's just the first time you've been on Blacktop Banter exclusively. I try to do that a lot. Like people who I get really good friendships with, I try to hold out a long time because I really want them to know me well. I want us to get super comfortable because I believe that we can make a killer podcast when that happens. Other times it's like, hey, people come up like, hey, can I be on the podcast? This is what we have to offer, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Okay, yeah, and it's strictly informational sometimes, and it's great. It's not that I don't enjoy those ones. It's just when I know there's a connection, I'm like, okay, I really want to nurture this one because what we're gonna do is have a great conversation and talk about life, and that's what essentially life is about is relationships and experiences. So we met, but we also met in person for the first time in Miami. We were there for an event we probably shouldn't have been at, right? It was a roofing convention, but we were there supporting one of our friends. But also, it's Miami, so it's not like you needed a big excuse, right?
yeah,
So I know you frequent there quite a bit. I've been there a few times now. I don't know that it's my like killer spot, but I do enjoy it quite a bit. The hard part was when we first met, like we connected, and most of the time when you connect with somebody, you're like, man, let's go get some drinks, let's hang out.
yep,
So
yep,
you're like, hey man, come down. We're down here at the lobby. We're down at the lobby bar. I'm like, okay, cool. I roll up and there's a bottle of Dom Perignon, and you're like, have one. I'm like, dude, I can't. You're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I can. I'm on 75 hard, and you're like, what is that? I'm like, yeah, I'm in day like 40. I can't have alcohol for another 30 days. And you're like, it's Dom Perignon. I'm like, I know, and I'd never had Dom Perignon, which to give some relativity, like that was 4 or 5 years ago. But I never had it before, and of course, in the worst way I wanted, but couldn't, right? And then I just remember your face looking at me and being like, okay, it's not, he's not being disrespectful. There's actually something
no,
to this. There's a reason why he's doing it, and I want to know more about that. And that's where I realized there was more depth to Zach than just because easily a normal person that we would have met would have been like, "What the heck?" You know what I mean? Oh,
yeah,
and it wasn't that at all. And we started talking about it, and I was like, one day we will share a bottle of Dom Perignon together, right? And
that's right,
thankfully, we were able
that's
to
right,
do that, right? And
yes,
ironically, I was able to do that, right? And that felt so good for me to be able to repay the favor that you tried to pay me the first time. So I'm grateful for that. But that's how we first met, and that's what attracted us. And then as we got to know each other more, I started to know more about your family situation, and your personal relationships, which kind of went entailed with mine during those times and things as well. And we really grew closer. So I kind of want to dig into that a little bit. You did kind of mention, your family owned a paving business and you were in it, but tell us a little bit about growing up. Tell us a little bit about mom and dad, and then siblings and that type of stuff growing up first, through your childhood until you hit the paving industry, if you could. Give us a little background.
yeah, sure, man. No, I appreciate it. And growing up, there was a couple different stages in my childhood. Um, some of my earliest memories were when I remember opening Christmas presents at this place we had. It was called the Mouse House. My parents were They had seal coat truck in the front yard. Our employees would come in. They were basically like an extension of our family at the time.
Hmm.
And so, you know, a lot of like hardship in younger years, but a lot of like the grit I think was built in me, and then just in my family was built within some of those younger years. So my mom and dad, they're, if you know me, I'm mixed. My mom's Mexican Hispanic culture, and then my dad is Polish. So like as white as it gets. And I would always grow up going to these family functions, and they were just so completely opposite of each other. Um, but I have a little sister.
Hmm.
She's 3 years younger than me. A lot of people would probably think she's the older sister because she's got her stuff together.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's a little more responsible.
She's a little more responsible. But I kind of, they were able to start gaining some traction on their CO coat business, uh, and we kind of bounced around house to house to house, and I just watched them start to oil this company a little bit more and more, and before we knew it, we had a pretty decent little lifestyle there that was
Hmm.
built from
Did
the
you know what
industry.
was going on? Did you know, like, when you talked about oiling the business and stuff, did you know what was going on, that they were building, and that some of the times were tight, and that they were actually building it into something? Did you know that that's what was going on, or did you
I'm gonna be
like?
honestly, man, I listen to my parents and I love my parents, but I listened to them argue nonstop, and it was pretty much because of money,
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah,
So, like, one thing about our industry, when you're up, you're up. When you're
yeah,
down, you can feel it, and it brings
yeah,
tension across the board.
yeah, yeah.
And
And
so,
every move is questioned, right? It's not only like you question your own move, whoever you is relying on you questions that move too, right? And you're like,
yeah, for sure.
not, and as you're growing, right? I mean, your parents grew with this business. Most of the time, they're growing into a situation that they've never handled before, right? But
Exactly.
everybody knows something has to get done, and it does create tension and has created tension. I mean, I've lived
For
that
sure.
life. You know what I mean? Growing West Coast up too. But
Yeah,
um,
man.
what was it like then in school? What were you interested in? I mean, I wonder that about Zach Milewski growing up through school and whatnot. Like, did is this what you wanted to do? Or were you like, dude, I loved that they were in this business. I always seen myself in this business. Or were you like, no, dude, I was gonna play ball, or I was gonna do whatever.
Well, I was really big into basketball, man. I love basketball. But if you know me, height wasn't on my side. So
Yeah.
those dreams came to like kind of an end. But man, I love playing basketball, football. My dad was super active with me out in the front yard, so we were always playing ball together. Um, a big piece of my life. My older cousin who worked for my dad, I would definitely say is like a staple in my life. He was a big skateboarder, so I ended
Oh
up
yeah.
getting into skateboarding a lot. Kind of brought it out like the more, you know, that
Yeah.
side,
You could
the
say
the
it.
more.
So, yeah.
And then we got into like motocross. A lot of my friends got into motocross
Cool.
and stuff, so we got into like a lot of the just alternative sports and stuff like that. And
So what did you think?
that's
Did you think you were gonna be doing the paving business?
no, I didn't. I didn't. I thought it was a vehicle
Uh-huh.
that my family had used, but I would eventually end up doing something different.
Yeah.
Um, that was my original thought with
Hmm.
it.
So what did it look like then as you got to be a teenager? When do you think in your lifetime, what age do you think that NPP or their business before then got its legs under it to where you felt some stability? And then what did that look like with your mom and dad?
I was probably 13, 14, 15 when things really started picking some steam up. And, with my parents, they went through a really nasty divorce.
Hmm.
It was the first year I was going into high school, and it was a really hard, tough divorce. We went from like a lot of structure around the household, their business, and everything to zero structure. Um, from that point, I just kind of like became kind of a rebel, man. I hung out with a lot of kids, a lot of groups I probably shouldn't be hanging around. Got myself into a lot of trouble growing up. I A lot of different weird things happened. I got jumped when I was 17.
Dang.
Um, yeah, just turned 17 my senior year by like we went to this wrong party by like grown adult men, dude, and I ended up going into a coma for 2.5 weeks. They didn't think I was gonna walk or
Dang,
talk.
man. I never knew that. I never heard that story.
Yeah, man. And it's I think I bring that up only because it's like we go back to you talk about those stages or those eras of life, and like those are the things that are like immediately brought back to the
Yeah.
forefront of my mind of like where we were, um, kind of just like a
Tough.
gritty, hard,
I was gonna say, dude, just tough.
just tough,
You know,
you
a
know?
string, just a string of tough times, dude. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not anything foreign to a lot of people, you know.
yeah,
Usually one thread gets pulled and then things start to unravel a little bit and then you're there to weave it back together, you know, in whatever fashion it looks like afterwards. But yeah, that's tough, dude. I never knew that.
yeah, man.
Did that have a big effect on you as far as changing how you acted or what you did after that?
Unfortunately, it did. I didn't think it would. It made me very, from the PTSD that I started getting from it, it was very fight or flight, and
Yeah.
I'm always one that's up for the challenge, and so I started, you know, just honestly a lot of fights growing up after that, and then
Yeah.
into like where a lot of people would probably be nearing out of that stage, I was just kind of getting into that stage,
Yeah.
and it kind of just led to a lot of trouble, you know,
Yeah.
that has takes a long time to stop following you at times, you know.
Yeah. How did you know, I'm going to ask you about your 20s and whatnot here coming up because
Yeah.
you're matured now. But first, I want to ask about how your mom and dad splitting up. How did that affect the paving business? And was that in PP then, or was it something else and then MPP happened afterward? How'd that all work out?
Sealco Asphalt at the time is the name of
Okay.
the company, Sealco Asphalt. They ended up, my dad ended up buying my mom out
Hmm.
of that company, and then a year and a half later, I think he sold it to Raybine.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I don't, you know, not to name drop, but he ended up selling it to Raybine,
Hmm.
and you know, I feel like my mom, just with where they were at, it was probably the right thing for them to do. Obviously, my dad got to cash in pretty well on the company from where it was and what they built up. So
Hmm.
I've kind of always had that thing in the back of my mind where I'm like, man, I want to be there for my mom. I want to make
Right.
sure help her get to where
Hmm.
she needs to be in life, you know.
Hmm.
So,
How did MPP
um,
come out of that?
long story short, we went to work for Raybine for some time.
Yeah,
Um,
as most of the time it does go with
Yeah,
buyouts and
man,
stuff.
they were an incredible journey, part of my journey, our journey, my family. They were really good to our family.
How old were you then, Zach?
I was 25 when I went to work for them,
Okay, okay,
so that was about 10 years ago.
okay. And then
About 10.
MPP came out of that after a certain amount of time.
Yep.
11. Okay.
So 11, some things were getting restructured over there on how the business model was going, and I had just told my mom, I'm like, I can't do this like the way things are gonna go. And so I made a pit stop at another company trying to help them out before I was just like, I need to do this on my own. And then my mom and I actually started NPP in the summer of 2015.
Cool.
And yeah, we just kind of strung this thing up, put some email marketing together at the time,
Yeah,
and jumped on the phone,
I was
started
gonna
doing
say
a
it's
lot of
been
cold
fun ever
calling.
since.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
the structure and the form that you've seen at Raybine, did that give you some education and insight on structuring NPP when you formed it on your own?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Um, you know, they ran their family business like, you know, $1 billion corporation, which I mean, if you know them, they're a monster.
Right.
It's not just perceived. That's who they are, you know. So that was the goal. As I was like, man, you know, they took the family business to a whole new level. I love that. It was so refreshing to see. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, they made paving our industry look glamorous, look sexy, look nice. You know,
Yeah. It was slick. They run a slick
yeah,
operation, you know. Like that's what I
absolutely.
like.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, man.
Um, so as you get so far along during some point in this, I know your daughter and my daughter are about the same age, right? And you and I are close to the same age. So during
Yeah.
that time, you and I had kids, not together, but I had kids over here. You had kids over on your side. Um, so we started families, right? And people within it. What did that do to you, right? As far as Zach was this character that was into dirt bikes and starting fights and was wildly, and then all of a sudden, I remember my first feeling holding my daughter, right? And I was like, and I can look back on it now and be like, okay, that started a change in me, I think, in that moment. But what was it like for you? Well, holding your daughter for the first time, having kids, and getting into a relationship like that.
Yeah, man, losing my parents and my family and then being able to circle back and find that love of insecurity again, of having something that you would do anything for at a
Yeah.
moment's notice is enough to know, like, okay, no matter what I do, I have
Hmm.
to survive and thrive. Like, I
Yeah.
can't allow circumstances to pull me backwards anymore.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was a moment of awakening for me to another level, man, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
What about
I
motivation,
also,
man?
because I was so young, and my kid's mom and I were not, I knew we weren't gonna make it. I was like,
Yeah.
man, I'm not gonna let, like, me being like an early father also detour me from living my life, like,
Yeah.
to its fullest, from business to personal,
Yeah.
personally, everything. I like to have fun. I like to enjoy myself. I like to
Yes.
work hard. I like everything. I want abundance, and I want my kids to see that as they grew up, and Jane
Yeah.
was a product of that, and she was definitely a big inspiration behind it all.
And you got a little dude. The dude loves basketball.
Little B dog.
Dude, he loves basketball. Like you guys are always there, I feel like. And that's like kind of reminds me of Eli. Like now we can't take the fishing poles out of the back of the Suburban. Like I can't take them out, and he'll ride all day, dude. We'll do 12 hours of estimates, and he'll be like, he'll pull a map up on his phone, and be like, there's a lake over here, or there's a river over here, there's a stream over here. I'm like, okay, dude. Like once they get what they love, they're like they want to be in it like all the time. So well, at least J
Exactly.
Dog, he sticks to one thing. Eli will switch. It'll be skateboarding next week, and then he's playing soccer like all the time. He plays soccer with Chris. I've never even played soccer with him. He played soccer with Chris. Chris was like, "Yeah, bring him back on
Really?
Tuesday." Yeah, yeah, and I'm like, "Oh,
It's so
okay,
cool,
cool."
man.
Yeah. So you never really know how it's
Fun
gonna
to
be.
see. Like, isn't it fun to see glimpses of your kids in the stuff that you used to be into? The way it just, like, you
Yeah,
can almost like see it in their eyes, like, oh, I love that, and
yeah,
it's like I jumped around from so many things. I can see why. That's really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. And I see that, but then I also see them doing their like, especially with the daughters, like they're doing their own thing now, and that's a tough thing because they're like, you want to be like, a lot of times you're like, why are you doing that? Like, is it appropriate? Is it not appropriate? Like, but they're like, they want to be themselves, and you want them to be their own person too. So as a father, you're trying to navigate that thing, and I got a feeling with the dudes, it's probably going to be easier. I'm just gonna be like, dude, what were you thinking? Like, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But with the daughters, it's like, I get like, I say one thing, and it's like, you don't understand, Dad, and I'm like, shit, yeah, I don't fucking understand. That's an issue, and I'm not going to be able to like ever. And she's sharp too,
Yeah.
so like I'll say something, and she'll be like, "But you also said this," and I'm like, oh, "Shit, yes, I did.
She,
Yes, I did."
yeah.
Right? So,
Yep.
they're quick
Girls are
about it.
they're
You,
quick. They're intuitive.
yeah, yeah, they're sharp on it.
I want to jump in and ask a question to both of you. Both of you are children of divorce. You both have children who are also children of either divorce or separation. I'm just curious how that has shaped or impacted the way that you are as fathers and the way that you are as businessmen. And Zach, maybe you want to go first, and Marvin, you can follow that up.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. You cool with that, Zach?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Um, it the way my parents' divorce went down, it's made me a little bit more reluctant to trust everybody. Keep a
Mm.
very if you know me, it's just a tight little knit group
Mm-hmm.
of people, and I love that. It's made me think ahead a lot in a lot of different ways, like what if this or what if that.
Mm.
Um, but it's also shown me as well that you know their life comes in waves, the same thing that business does. There's ups, there's downs, and sometimes you just got to get through whatever wave you're on, and know that if you just staying the course, you're
Yeah.
gonna end up on another side of it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at with it. That's what I've kind of realized. I think maybe from the divorce.
Yeah. I
Is
think, those seasons or the waves are kind of like seasons, and like sometimes relating to business side of it first, I talked to Chris, who's Cheeks, who a lot of people know, over at Wiscote, and we were out one time this year and we were laughing, man. I was one of the early ones. I just decided to do the job with him and we were laughing, trimming out. I was pulling spray hose for him and stuff. And he looked back and he's like, man, this is how it used to be. It was such a good feeling. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, that doesn't exist anymore. That's not the season we're in. Hopefully one day we go back to it, right? But that's not the season we're in right now with where we're at. And I get it that it's seasons, but also like you and I, right? It's cold where we live in the winter. We escape the seasons and make the season and atmosphere around us what we want it to be too, right? At those moments
Yeah.
because we have the capability to, thankfully, with our success. Um, I think with my parents and the way I've seen it grow up, they weren't around as I was. They were gone. They were split apart early when I was young, and I just remember wanting family structure. My grandmother raised me. It wasn't a great atmosphere, but she raised me. And two doors down were my neighbors, and their son Luke was my cousin, was my best friend growing up. And I just seen structure. I seen a mother and a father and children, and I seen success in a business. I didn't see stress and anxiety, and I just remember wanting that and wanting when it was my turn to form that. And I think that might have been a detriment because I wanted to form that. I thought that's all in my power, and I'm going to be able to do that. And naively as a young man and never being led in any direction in family life, that's not how it works. It works with two people, right? And you have to be able to recognize that. And I didn't, but rather than the easy path, I think of divorce and whatnot. It's been a few years, and we've just kept fighting and fighting, and not fighting that way. Yes, that way, but also fighting for trying to keep it mended together, right? And this is after today. Kelly and the two kids and I go down to see her family for Memorial Weekend down in Missouri. If you would have asked me a year ago, would we have done that? No. Mm-mm. 2 years ago, no, probably not. So I've learned a lot about myself, also learned a lot about her through that as well. And I think that one positive that has come through that, we've been together, you and I, we've been hanging out, done a lot of things. We both live life to the fullest. I've realized it's possible for me to do that personally, to live my life to the fullest and be places and see and be around people and do whatever, but also keep that together as well, which I didn't think was possible. Um, One thing I've noticed is that through that, my kids also seem to be resilient. Whenever there's something tough that they're going through, they really want to work through it and give through it rather than give up. And I will tell Kelly once in a while, I think that's attributed to her and I fighting for it too. Even if it doesn't work and it doesn't work out eventually in the long run, I think fighting for that has shown resilience to them, and they've also seen it in the business as well, right? They've had that same situation where we spent freaking Christmas on Clearwater Beach, and then two Christmases later, we're over here at the apartment opening two presents or whatever it is, right? So I mean, it's up and down. They've seen that, but they've seen that we keep fighting. And uh, what's crazy, Zach, is that victories even small ones, feel so good when you have that contrast between very bad, and good. The good feels
Yeah.
really good. So I think what that does for you and I, we celebrate a lot of moments because we don't have to have this huge giant vision aspiration of winning the championship. You know what I mean? In order to feel good, we can feel good here because we felt bad down here. And I think that's a good thing. It's actually made us enjoy life a lot more frequently than just one time vacation a year. You know what I mean? Or retirement. Like that's what I got a lot of buddies who are they're like, I got a pension. I'm like, "Oh, okay, you know, good luck enjoying that. Like if we could get hit
So,
by a
man.
bus, dude, or a plane crash, you ain't gonna make to the pension. But yeah, I think that's where I've seen over this time, and it's tough. This industry's tough on that too. Once you say Zach, like it's tough on
Oh
family.
yeah. It's really hard on family, man. It's almost like it's been related to just even stuff like, where husband's got to go almost off to like war for a little bit of time because it's like literally go time when it's go time, and it's like a husband and wife. A husband works on the rig for this amount of time and then coming back, and it's a lot of stress on the family. um, but I like what your spin is on that, man. It builds a lot of grit, it builds
Hmm.
sustainability, and a lot of character, man. A lot of
Yeah.
character. One of the things that I think when we're talking about divorce too is, my parents were so, when they were going through their divorce, the me needing their help at times, mentally they just weren't there.
Hmm.
It made me realize, I'm like, they're not going to come and save me. Like, they're
Yeah.
not going to come and do this for me. It's not going to happen. I'm going to have to do this for myself. And I think it was reality kind of started shifting into at that point, like, I'm gonna have to take care of myself. I moved out of my house really young too,
Hmm.
and it kind of shifts your mindset.
Does. Yeah, builds you into who you are, though. You know what I mean?
It
Like
does, for
you and
sure.
I, they would have to kill us to take this from us. Like you're gonna have to kill me. Like they're like we're literally.
Guaranteed.
I tell Chris this sometimes. Like I will literally will have to run it into the ground and destroy everything for me not to make it. Like they're gonna have to take it from me. And I've told you that before, and you were like, "Damn!" Like it's true. I think
It is so
that
true.
comes from you having to survive. Like
It exactly,
it does.
exactly.
Can I ask
Oh man.
you? Chris popped a good question. I'm gonna have to try to come back now. I got competition in here, so I gotta take it easy here. I want to ask you about your children's mother, who I know is around, right? Can we talk about that a
Yeah,
little bit?
yeah. Of course,
So
of course.
she works with you guys once in a while, is that right?
So I think you're thinking about Shantae, who was the gal after my children's
Yes.
mom.
Yep.
Uh, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
she.
Shantae. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good, man. You're good. There's been a few.
All right. Yeah, but then I want to talk. I do want to go back to to your children's mother though. After that.
So Shantae, she was her and I were together when I first started NPP,
Okay.
and I helped her get into a position that she was at. She was doing HR for a stone quarry at the time. We were living together. She had her daughter. I had my two
That's
kids.
what it was. That's what it was. Yep.
Yep. And there was just a lot going on in the house, man. A lot of stress of a new business. You got kids and you're sharing custody, all kinds of stuff. But
Yep.
yeah, that girl she's amazing, man, in a lot of different ways. She's actually recently moved and transitioned into another stage of life. She took off and she's living in Iowa,
Okay.
and so it's been a good blessing for her that was here, and I think it
Yeah.
allowed her and I to be able to like maybe even close a chapter in life
That's
of
good.
where like, hey, you're with me when we started this. You're a big piece of where we've got into, and now like I hope to be a small piece of your story in the future,
Mhm.
and future successes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's cool, man. And it's cool to be able to keep that copacetic. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
you're like, okay, because you never know. Like we talked about, the seasons,
You
right?
never know.
So
Yep.
who
exactly.
knows what path at what point a conversation will come up or anything will come up, and I don't know. It it leads me. Oh, this is what I want to ask you. I want to ask about your children's mother and your relationship with her right now at this stage in your life.
Right now, at this stage in my life, it's about as smooth as it's been.
That's
I
good.
think her and I have. She's also probably gone through a lot of things, and we're to a point where things are just they're smooth. And I
Yeah,
think
you get to
enjoying
your
that,
middle
I'm
of your
really enjoying
30s, you
that.
want things to be like as
Dog.
little impact as possible, yeah, and as little stress as possible.
I whatever I need to do to avoid confrontation, I try to do at this point. I'm like, it's gonna take a lot to pull that side back out of me, but I just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's cool. It's tough, man, and a lot of people deal with that, man, and it affects everything. Like it affects everything. Like us trying to do everything we're doing, multiple businesses, uh, at different scales, right? We're trying to start stuff. We're trying to keep stuff going. We're trying to scale things. Um, and then in order for us to function at optimum level, to have outside stressors affect that and your mental capacity and how exhausted you are is tough. So outside of these walls, like people are like, what do you do? I'm like, I just chill most of the time. Like I'll go golf, right? Or if I go out, I go out like with lately, been with Chris and whatnot. But
okay.
um like your circle, I try to keep that circle really tight and small too, because too much stuff, too many ties to anything, and trying to do too many things makes it just business. You're like, ooh, I forgot about this or forgot about that or whatever. So I
Yeah,
try to do that as well.
that's
It's
good,
tough.
man. That's really good.
So before we bust into commercial, I want to ask you one more question before we bust out into commercial, and then we'll bust back into some more. But it's going to be a heavy question. Um, you see your children, your daughter's getting close to the age that you were, right, before things became rocky and whatnot between your parents and them, but then they seen business and did all this stuff. Not to get too heavy before we bust into a great commercial break, but what do you hope for them, Zach? Like, what do you hope for your children for their future? Like, what is it? I know you can hope a lot of things for them, but if you were to sum it up, being as you were that age, and you've got 20 more years beyond that under your belt, and went through a lot, what do you hope for them through their age up to where you are now, for their next 20 years? What do you hope for them?
No, that's a great question, man. It's deep. I would say a lot of what you're feeling right now from social aspect, because I think social aspect weighs very heavy on particularly our daughter's age.
Hmm.
It's going to be probably very irrelevant by the time you get to where we're at right now. I want them to know that anything in life is possible. Anything. You can be the president. You can be the first woman president. You could be the 10th woman president. You could, do whatever. But more than anything, I just want them to believe in themselves, man. Like, I need them to understand. I want them to understand just to believe in themselves.
Hmm.
It's okay to take chances. It's okay to fall on your face.
Yeah.
Um, I think, that's my hope for them is to just shoot, like,
Yeah,
and keep shooting because I've missed a lot. And I think that's the biggest thing is for them to just keep shooting, you know?
man.
So,
Yeah, yeah. I
what
think.
about you?
What about me?
What about you?
What do I hope for mine?
Yeah.
Uh, I think I've done a lot of stuff, dude, and well, yeah, I've done a lot of stuff, I guess. Some stuff makes me really happy, and some stuff doesn't make me happy. And some stuff that a person would think would make them happy, when you're on that side of the coin, you get to the other side, and it doesn't really make you, it doesn't satisfy, right? So
Yeah.
I hope that they find that before they have to go through what I went through to get there, right? I hope if surfing makes Eli happy, and he just works at an ice cream hut and surfs all the time, but when I see him, he's super excited. I hope that for him. You know what I mean? And then
I love
if
that.
Elizabeth wants to struggle for 20 years in Nashville to try to become a singer and that makes her happy to chase that dream, I want that for her. Now, if she ends up really liking numbers and wants to be an accountant at Wisco and does that, and it makes her happy, I hope that. Like, I just hope they're happy, man. Like, we've been everywhere, fought for a lot of stuff, seen a lot of things, and to be honest with you, if we land a six-figure job at Wisco, doesn't make me as happy as when you and I meet up and we're on a rooftop somewhere and you get that feeling, right? Like that's way better. And I don't have to do as much or work as hard or fight for that. I just got to be in the right place at the right time and text you once in a while. So
Exactly.
I hope that for them, man. I hope they figure out that that's really what life's about, to be honest with you.
That's
And
great.
um, before we go to commercial, I just want to say, nowadays, our son could be the first lady president. I'm just saying, it's
Hey,
getting
yeah,
wild out here. It's getting
it's
wild out
getting
here.
wild out there. Streets,
It
man.
is.
It's
It
wild out
is.
there.
It is. Anything is possible, truthfully, my friend. All right, real
Yep.
quick, we're gonna bust us some commercial. Easy for me to say. We're gonna bust us some commercials. Laugh it up over there, Chris. And we're gonna come back with Zach. And after we come back, we're gonna talk about Zach's unique lifestyle, and we're gonna talk about some little bit of different hard lessons that he's learned along that way as well. Be right back. Now that spring is here, it won't be long before we're back out in the field. And a key part of being successful this year is making sure we have the products we know and trust to get the job done right each and every time. That's why we use Crafco for all of our crack and joint sealant needs. Crafco products are safe, easy to use, and consistent in their quality and performance, so we spend less time troubleshooting and more time building jobs. Plus, Crafco's industry-leading service and support team means they're ready to assist with any questions we do have along the way. So, if you're ready to ditch the hassle and the headaches this year, visit Crafco.com and give their products a try. I know you'll be glad you did. That's CRAFCO.com. Dynapac continues to make an impact in the asphalt industry, literally. Recently unveiling their electric line of rollers and plate compactors, they lead the way in innovation when it comes to compaction, including their seismic technology, which creates a better, smoother, compacted surface. We're happy to have Dynapac as a supporter of the Blacktop Banter community and encourage you to interact with them on social media. For their full product lineup, visit Dynapac.com. Dynapac, your partner on the road ahead. From their iconic hot boxes to their infrared machines, and now the KM Blacktop Banner Edition seal coating unit, KM International has established itself as one of the toughest and longest lasting equipment manufacturers in the asphalt world. KM is comprised of an experienced team that brings you all the resources you would hope to see from an asphalt equipment manufacturer. Check out KM International on all forms of social media and be sure to see all they have to offer at kminternational.com.
Asphalt contractors, are you guys tired of using 10 different programs to create a nice professional looking report for your customer? Are you tired of having to drive back and forth to your job sites to capture photo updates and get measurements and quantities for change orders, or even having to mark your jobs out beforehand? Are you also tired of carrying too much stuff whenever you're on site scoping jobs, like a wheel, a pen, paper, and clipboard, and a spray paint can? We were too, so we developed SpotOnSite, an all-in-one mobile app that allows you to measure and mark instantly from the palm of your hand, capture photos and videos that are all time-stamped and dated, and generate instant reports that you can send to your customers and your team members for a seamless collaboration. This is going to no doubt help you win more work, reduce inefficiencies, and stand out from the competition. Check us out for your free 14-day trial, SpotOnSiteApp.com.
All right, we're back with Zach Milewski from National Pavement Partners and SOS and 8-Figure Paver. SOS is spot on site. You see how I did that commercial? I sounded just like Hayden.
You did.
Dude, when
I
you're
thought
around,
that was you. I'm
well,
impressed.
yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, when you're around somebody, you emulate. I can emulate pretty good. I do a couple more impressions. Next time I'll show those to you. But for
Yeah.
now, we'll stick
Let's
to
see
the Hayden one.
Jim Carrey impression at some point.
Yeah. Well, shit. No, I didn't mean that. Like I can be a beanbag. I can you just lay there in the corner like that. I can do a tree once in a while. I can do a sleeping log. Like I can do a
There you
lot.
go.
But the Hayden one's on point for sure. A smart ass, I can do that one really good. Just so you know, if you ever think I'm being a smart ass, that's an impression. So I nail that
Okay.
one too. Uh,
Nice.
so when you and I first met, you know, I think we only had one thing going on really, right? And now we have multiple things going on. But one thing that's been steadfast, and I think one thing that sets us apart from some other people is perceptions of us. Like people tend to have perceptions of us, you and I. You live a unique lifestyle, which you kind of kicked to earlier in the broadcast about you want to live your life to the fullest. You like to do things. You like to be out and about. Sometimes we will see you out in the field a little bit, got your MPP on and SOS, whatnot. And other times I see you unbutton a little bit in a nice little Gucci silk, and I love it. And we're out there doing that. We've been there. We've been on the beach together and been on some skylines together and whatnot too. Um, Tell us a little bit about your lifestyle, Zach, and about that. And if you would, a little bit. Just tell us about what you like and why you like it, if that's okay.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
It's okay. You don't gotta be humble. Let her rip.
No, you know what, man? It's for the longest time too. I'm like, man, I felt like I needed to disassociate so much from one to another, like turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off. But
Hmm.
it's a lot of who I am.
Yeah.
I'm tatted, hands tatted all over. You're the same way. Um, I'm kind of I'm kind of a wild child, man, and I have been since I was young. Um, I enjoy the I enjoy the chase
Yep.
of a lot of things, but mostly like you hit those endorphin levels of winning, of
Hmm.
closing big contracts, of
Hmm.
you know being in Miami on the beach,
Hmm.
being up in New York City, wherever, and I don't know what it is. It's just it drives me. It fills my bucket,
Yeah.
and I love to just create new experiences, man.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of unorthodox. I've heard from a few people. They're like, "Man, it seems
Yeah.
like you like to have a lot of fun." I'm like, I do.
Yeah.
It's weird because I've got my kids one week
Yeah.
and then I don't have them another week.
Yeah.
And you get me on a week where things are firing all on all cylinders and I don't have my kids,
Yep.
and you'll likely see me out doing something that I would love to do
Yeah.
somewhere along the way.
Yeah. But
And
then I see you on the weeks when you do have your kids and you're doing something you love too. And that's hanging out with them at a
absolutely,
game or just in the backyard or getting ice cream or something like that.
exactly, man,
Yeah.
exactly. My kids are. I want to kind of just show them like anything is possible.
Yeah. You
You
can be you.
you move how you want to move in life.
Yeah.
So there's no like in our industry. There's a stigma like
Bingo.
construction, solar.
Yeah.
Like they'll look at me and be like, "Oh, this guy's not an asphalt boy." Blah blah
Yep.
blah. No, the thing is, we can run this so many different ways, and I know it all. You
Yep.
do too. And
Yep.
at the end of the day, yeah, I like throwing on those Gucci slides every
Yeah.
once in a while and just chilling. You
What
know?
the Balenciagas one time, remember? I was like, bro.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah, I
Balenciaga.
remember them white ones. I can never forget it. But that I think see that's what I think to other people what when we do that type of stuff, it's a turnoff sometimes and they're like, "Man, they ain't this or they ain't about that or whatever." But the reasons why we do what we do, and you said it, is it fills your bucket. That's what makes me enjoy seeing you enjoy life because I know your motivation and I know what it does for you, right? And as your friend, I like that. I'm like, it's not to portray anything, right? You're just showing
Yeah,
people you're loving what you do and you're loving life and these experiences. That's why I post a lot of pictures and do a lot of stuff. It's so that when my kids get older, they can look back and be like, yeah, my dad lived an experienced life. Now I know why he was so happy all the time. He lived an
yeah,
experienced life, right? And people want me to be humble and not share that we're here and doing that or that I'm hanging out with this person, that person. When you get to be 65, you know who cares about what you've done in your life? Nobody, right? Except you. You care what you do with your life. So that's why, when we have these perceptions of us, and why we live it the way that we do. It has nothing to do with what I would say the majority of the people that we see on Instagram or Facebook or whatever do it, to measure up to society. I could care less, dude. All I remember is you and I taking pictures on the rooftop skyline in Nashville at Tootsie's in the middle of the night one night, and me thinking, whose life am I living? Right? Because I flashed back and that was not my life. I didn't even know it was possible. And we're celebrating, like, you being as you have life and you've made it through this stuff and you've worked your asses off. You should be celebrating, and then you should be capturing those moments so that you can look back on them. And you should be sharing them, because that's really what life should be about. And that's what we see. Like, that's what we do. So, um, yeah, I think it's important to explain that. And I think it's important to ask that, because you do it and do what you do and live your life for all the right reasons, for as a person should. You mentioned it earlier in the program. They should love their lives and what they're doing and enjoy it and live it to the fullest. I challenge people with that question quite a bit. Like, are you really doing it all? Are you being humble? One of our good friends, or one of my good friends, has a boat, and took me out on the boat. And it was during a work day. He's like, "Yeah, I'd post a picture about it, but everybody's out working, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that to them." And I was like, "Fuck that." I was like, I was like, "How long is that going to go on for? The next 30 years of your life? You're going to tiptoe around what you want to do because you're worried about ruffling feathers for somebody who works for you, or it doesn't work for you, but you don't want to be perceived a certain way?" I was like, "So you don't get to have any pride. You want to take this picture out of pride about your friendship, what you've worked hard for, and what you're doing, and you won't do it because you're worried about what somebody else is going to think. Fuck that. Nope.
I
I'd rather
agree,
I'd
man.
ra- I'd rather go back to steel coat and driveways by hand than live my life that way."
Yeah.
So I think it's important. I appreciate you, like, chiming in and telling us on it. Telling us about it and why you do it.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to say whatever they're going to say no matter what, man. And I respect everybody for who they are, what they have going on, as long as they're, uh, you know, do it with morals and ethics. I know along the way, I do the best that I'm able to do right by people and anyone that is looking to
Hmm.
surround themselves with me, by me. And so, I wake up in the mirror every day. I'm happy. I'm
Yeah.
content. I'm at
Yeah.
peace. I don't
Yeah.
know if happy is the greatest term, but I feel like I'm at peace.
Yeah.
And so peace is a very, very nice place to be when you've been all over the
Hmm.
place, like we have,
Yeah.
and
Happy's a strong word, man. I think once you realize really what happiness is, you don't throw it around as easy as you used to.
exactly.
Like, "Oh man, I'm happy." Dude, I hardly ever say that word. There's a couple words that I rarely ever throw out, right? Because
Yeah.
you can be happy for a moment, but I think that's enjoyment. And then, like you said, the rest of my life, I'm at peace. Like, even when we're wild and music is blaring and we're somewhere, you and I, that's peaceful to me. Because we're like, "Oh, this is where we should be. We're in the right spot at the right time, doing the right
It's
thing.
like
This is where we're supposed to be."
being fulfilled, right? Like
It
I just
is.
feel fulfilled.
It is.
And that's beautiful in itself. So
So we enjoy those moments, you and I, and as I mentioned earlier, I think that we enjoy them a lot because we went through hard times, right, and had hard lessons and had hard moments. Um, had you been taught anything, um, any lessons? Have you been taught some? I know I see you and your dad hanging out quite a bit lately. I've seen some pictures. Love seeing it.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
man.
that guy's learned a lot through the years as well. Um, hard lessons you've learned or been taught? Do you have any offhand that you can throw our ways and talk about?
Yeah, man. I've got plenty.
Well, we'll take it
Plenty.
easy.
I've got
Yeah.
plenty.
Yeah. Hard
No,
hard lessons that you think a lot of people would run into and you've been taught that that you'd have advice on.
particularly, look, not to bring everything back to money, but if you don't have money and you can't maneuver, then you're you're going to be way down in one area of your life,
Yeah.
which creates tension and stress. But money lessons for sure along the way. I've had to start from nothing, completely bankrupt, early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say be very calculated. Try to think into the future as much as you're able to. Um,
Money management or how to earn it
money,
or all of it? All of
I
it.
would say money management too. One of my biggest rules is like, look, if I lose it, break it, or it's gone, and it hurts me to the point where it like fractures who I am,
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't be buying it. You shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
You need to be able to, it should be just a
Yeah.
bonus in
I
addition
don't want
to,
people to get it twisted. You and I have been around bottles of Dom Perignon together twice, right? Since we've known each other.
yeah,
So I don't want people to get it twisted. But yeah,
right.
I think that's a really good lesson, right? What you just said about if it hurts or cripples you or breaks you, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, and then the ego. I mean, I would say I've cared for a long time about what people think
Mm-hmm.
or thought or whatever. I would say the next thing is it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All that really matters is that you can look at yourself and know that you're putting it all on the floor every day.
Yeah.
Um, and the only thing that really keeps people back is their perception of what other people may think of them, of their perception
Oh,
of them, you know?
Chris,
And
jot
if,
that down. That's going to be the clip.
so,
Dang. Yeah. You know who we got a good mutual friend, Jason Libman from Florida Seal Coating. And
yeah,
dude,
such a cool guy.
that's one of the best human beings on the planet. He's one of the best human beings on the planet.
You got some of
Um,
the best hair on the planet, bro.
oh yeah, dude. To
Dude, every
me,
time I see,
hey, listen, to me, anybody with follicles has the best hair on the planet. So we won't even go down that route. I'm jealous of him in a lot of ways, but that's one of them. Um, that guy loves choppers, like motorcycle choppers, just loves them,
okay,
and loves doing that thing. But he also likes seeing people succeed too, which eh, I think is one of the things that makes us all friends as well. But what I wanted to say is, he was telling me one time, um, and I think you and I didn't fall victim to this so much as some people do, because I don't know, we still did what we wanted to do along the way. I didn't necessarily know who I was in my 20s, so I was just kind of navigating my way through here, trying to find that out. I still don't know if I know who I am. I hope I never do, really. I hope I keep trying to discover it. But Jason was telling me that early on, he was like me back in the day, and he had absorbed from everybody, and these guys showed up with suits and did all this stuff and was really prim and proper about everything. And when he came to the events, he handled himself in a way that way to be professional and do whatever. And he was like, "You want to know when I really, really started to do well? When I grew my hair out and ripped my sleeves off my t-shirt and just did whatever I wanted to do." He's like, "That's when I really started to do well." He's like, "When I stopped caring about if that mattered to anybody at all, that's when I really started to do well." He's like, "I went from one motorcycle to 8 to 10 to 12." He's like, "I just did whatever I wanted to do." And it was one of those things where it was, I think it was a couple years ago, World of Asphalt, maybe. We were there together too, right? World of Asphalt.
yep,
Something like that. Yeah.
yep.
So he was there with us, and he's seen me start to do that. I think I got my first. I think I started to get my sleeve done, and he was like, "Yeah, yep, you're figuring it out, yep." And since then, we've been able to build more and build more and build more, and that's the ticket. Like finding who you are, right, and letting that go before you worry, and letting that run free and build you up, instead of, like you just pointed to, having perceptions of people or people's perceptions of you being what's important to you, right? Because then
Yes,
you end up zipping this up and making sure
stuffy.
you can't have tattoos out past your sleeves for sure, right? Or definitely not anywhere else. I keep telling everybody I'm gonna get a face tat like Tyson at one time, and they're like, "No, no." I'm like, "Yeah, at some point I'm gonna be able to do it, and I'm going to. Like, it's gonna
Dog,
happen."
I'm gonna be right there getting my neck done with you.
Right here, yeah, on the throat one. Okay,
Yeah,
cool. I'm in. I'm all right.
yeah.
We're down for that. Um, Talking about those pieces of advice and stuff, tell us a little bit about Eight Figure Paver and what people can expect if they start to look for information on that or get curious about it.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate you even asking. Eight figure, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, it's a it's a jam-packed course of just the meat and potatoes of what people need within business as a whole. Not just for paving, but it is geared certainly towards paving.
Okay.
But um, really focusing in on cost of goods sold, figuring out where margin is made, where it's lost, um, really helping people understand their companies,
Okay.
what it takes to get through wintertime. If you have lulls like we do and you're in a seasonal industry, what does overhead look like? What does it take for you to get through wintertime? Um, what you should be paying yourself as an owner,
Mm-hmm.
where pieces of your business fall within your overhead structure,
Okay.
where you can pick up other points from equipment costing. All the stuff that I wish I knew when I first started my company, you know. So
Yeah.
that's
How'd you
what
put this together? How'd you put this together? Your team?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Like Hayden came to me one day and he was like, I think people need something along these lines. And I was like, I don't do shit half-ass, bro. And I'm like, if I do, if I do this, I have to like really give it my all and like pour
Yeah.
into people and things and give away secrets that I don't necessarily feel comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
But after I kind of got into it, I was like, you know what? This is actually a beautiful thing because I love to help people. And the more people that we've got through eight figure and I've had like one-on-one conversations with them, I'm like, man, you know what? That's really fulfilling. Even though
Yeah.
there's a payment associated with it, when you see light bulbs starting to go off for people, you're like, this is great. Like,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. It does something. It there's there's things that scratch an itch in a human that they didn't even know itched before. Like it starts to fill a bucket, right? Like we do things to fill buckets. We talk about that. And that's one of those
Yes.
things, man. Like same thing, we have a success group here and we I see these guys that are starting out have no which way to go and we just send them in a direction, right? And then they'll come back and be like they'll send pictures to us and they're like, look at all these jobs I just smashed out. And I was like, dude, this is your first year. You're crushing it, right? You here you are. You're putting work together, and it makes you feel good knowing that we're in an industry that gives so much to us, and we're able to give back to it as well. I know there's payments attached to what we do and what you guys do, but a lot of that's a filtering process too, as well, right?
For
And
sure.
there's no, any kind of education you're going to pay for, right? For the most part, unless you're going to learn it the hard way. And
Yeah,
same thing with free advice. Sometimes I worry about that stuff as well. So,
I do
um,
too.
but yeah, I mean, dude, Hayden never stops, dude. He never
God,
stops.
he's incredible, man. He's
Yeah.
incredible. You know, he and I sat down together and we were like, okay, in our industry, what does that look like? We've got this type of owner who is, buying their crack fill machine, going out, placing the crack fill, then they get to the point where they're selling it. Then
Mm-hmm.
you've got your guys doing it. Then you get to the point where, and we've kind of realized we're like, okay, there's five levels to it.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that guy extracts that information, even from me, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, he's a true blessing, man. Like,
Yeah.
I, uh, I prayed to God. I'm like, God, put good people, put good men in my life. And,
Yeah.
like I get people like him who get delivered
Yeah.
in there.
You see people get opportunity, or brainstorm. Like Chris and I brainstorm all the time. That's mainly because we're both dreamers, I think, in some facet of it. Right, Chris? You agree? Chris is nodding his head, yeah. But I think that you get some people who realize that there's an opportunity and they seize the opportunity. And then once they seize the opportunity, they look for more opportunity and then they have something in them that personally challenges them to see just how far they can go. And I think that guy's got that. Like he grabbed that opportunity, seen it there, and said, "Okay, um, now let's see what we can do," and keeps going and going and going with it. So it's really cool to see you guys do your thing. I'm gonna be honest with you. You guys kind of got a little bit of a bromance. It's actually kind of a like a three-person bromance there. Once in a while, I see. Chris
Yeah.
mentioned that between him and I the other day. He said we kind of have a bromance going. I'm like, oh. Okay, I guess that's going to be happening now on my end too. So wherever we go now, I have a +1 for sure.
I
If
love
Kelly
it.
isn't with, if Kelly's with, it's going to have to be +2, I guess. But um, yeah, I mean, it's cool to see. It's cool to see you guys put that together. I think the way nobody's the same, and none of these owner operators are the same. Um, it's important to have options, right? For people to take advice from, for people to get lessons from, for people to get education from. It's important to have different options because there's different personalities and different things that click, right? We're both part of mastermind groups, educational groups, and these types of things. Some resonate well with me, and some don't. I mean, it's just the way it goes. That's just the way I'm built, I guess. And
Same.
I really appreciate you guys putting something together for our industry. And one thing I want to talk about with, you know, eight-figure paver, SOS, NPP is your legacy, man. You're building something that I me doing what I'm doing, I recognize it as quite a task and a monumental task and having a lot of irons in the fire. I know we're joking that we're young, but our lives might be half over. Who knows yet? Maybe all the way over. Who knows, man? I might be done after this. This could be the last thing I do. You never know. Chris is saying no. Yeah, but I'm not allowed to, I guess.
I agree with Chris.
Yeah. I want to talk about your legacy, Zach, and if that is on your radar now, if that's important to you, if that's what some of this is for, or what it is, if it's filling buckets, your motivation for this stuff. Because I don't think you needed to do eight-figure paver. I don't think you needed to do SOS. Neither one of those for monetary gain. I think you did them for to see just what Zach Milewski is built of and made of, and what he's capable of. And I think that that builds into your legacy. So, is that am I on cue? Am I not on cue? Are you just filling buckets still? How important is legacy to you?
First of all, thank you. Those were very humbling. And dude, I couldn't say enough about what you're doing as well too. I love to see like the trajectory you're running at. I think it's what we're trying to do and accomplish is incredible. And I think I'm happy to share that with you. You know, it is all about legacy at this point because I know it's not going to stop with me.
Hmm.
It's just I'm doing the front leg work, right?
Hmm.
So like if we look back, we look at people like Elon Musk and Tesla, like how many years his family, generations, his family carved on what they did before he was able to get to where he's at, and what is he handing back over to his kids, and where are his kids taking it from that point? Like he's trying to
Yeah.
get to the moon, he's trying to do this, he's trying to do that. Like is he going to do that? He might get the forefront of that legwork done, but it's probably going to be handed back over and down to the next generation. And, you know, my mom, they introduced me to this industry that needs a lot more depth to it.
Yeah.
And I want to be part of some earth shaking, groundbreaking stuff that happens within this industry. And you know, if we're at the front of it, then you know maybe we're handing it off to our kids at some point and people who work for us. I've got great families that work for us. And what are their kids doing? Not that they have to be at NPP or SOS or this or
Hmm.
that, but like what are we doing to give them the opportunity? Maybe they want to do it. So we've had
Yeah.
opportunities. We've had companies that want to buy NPP. That we've had pre-revenue offers for SOS, and it's not the money anymore. It's the
Right.
purpose and the legacy. And what are we doing to hand that over? So
Yeah. Yeah. I think
kids,
that's kids. It's the kids. Yeah.
it's the
I
kids,
think
man.
it's the kids. We're doing it for the kids. Yeah. I'll remember that next time we're on top of Tootsie's, and then we talk about it the next morning. Yeah, I'll remember I'm doing it for the kids. Uh,
Yes, exactly.
yeah. When you were talking about, you said you don't half-ass anything. I was gonna say, yeah, I feel it the next morning sometimes when we hang out. We don't go half-ass on stuff.
We
Um,
don't, man.
no, I totally agree, man, and I think it's important. And I think that there is enough of the people that is in our larger circle that that feel that same thing too, that it's about legacy. To be honest with you, um, we talk about perceptions about how we live our lifestyles uniquely. I think that's what attracts young people to our industry, right? I mean, let's be honest with you. You having a mashed potato and roast beef dinner at the supper club isn't necessarily going to attract Eli to coming into, being in the paving industry and realizing that he's going to have to be dealing with some stress and anxiety and hot days and dirty hands and all this shit. But
Yeah.
if we're like, we just booked to go to see the Chicago Fire MLS game this July, and he was like, "We can go." I'm like, "Yeah, if you put in a month of work, month and a half of work, we're going." I'm like, "I'll get the tickets. If not, I'm going to give them to Chris." And he was like, "I'll work. I'll work." Right. So, um, if I would have said, "Hey, yeah, we're gonna go have steak dinner middle of July," he would have been like, "Yeah, I'm good." Right. So I think that what we do is important, and um, crazily, you're probably never going to hear this from anybody, but the way that we depict what the asphalt industry provides for us and enables us to live unique lifestyles actually helps the asphalt industry because it makes it attractive to young people who want to come into the industry and build. They don't have to be owners to be able to do that. They can be operators, they can be supervisors, they can be sales guys, right? They can be anybody. And you can do that, create that lifestyle for yourself, what you want to do within our industry, whether that's, um, creating an app like you guys did, whether that's creating a seal coat business like we've done here, whether it's an eight-figure paving company like you all have done, any of that. What's important to me is that, and I say this to you guys and to our friends a lot, what's important to me is that at the end of it, we all look back on a life well lived, on an industry that we are all able to be friends in together, and we're choosing, whether it's Dom Perignon or Bud Light or whatever. I just want to have that feeling at the end of it, right? When we're all there
Yep.
together, and you know,
Yep.
our kids are going to look at us and be like, again, But that's what I see, and that's what I see you do, and it's part of the main reason I wanted to have you on here was because um, I enjoy you as a person. I enjoy seeing you guys, and Hayden as well. I enjoy seeing you guys have success and push the envelope and push farther and create something that has never existed there before in that space. Same thing we're doing here. I think it's something that our children will look back on one day and be very proud that we did with our lives. So
Absolutely, man. Can't wait to get our kids together at some point. That'll be
I know,
good.
man. I know. I, I know, dude. Dude, every time you say that, I feel like shit. I'm like, man,
No, no, man.
I
I mean,
gotta
here's the
carve
deal.
time out. No,
Here's the
because
deal.
Chris
Fall
is,
is football season.
it
Fall is
is.
football season. We can travel up there. We can hit a
Yeah,
game, or you guys come
yeah.
down this way. I think that's a
Yeah. Yeah,
great
get on
time
my
to
ass about it. Be like, dude, we're not gonna be friends anymore if you don't do this. And I'm like,
do
oh
it.
shit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's for sure. Where can people find Zach Milewski and stuff on the internet? You can give whatever handles you want to wherever. I don't care. People are
You
gonna
can
be
find
interested in you no matter what.
Yep. You can find me um, at Milewski, Milewski .Zach on Instagram.
Hmm.
LinkedIn is just first name, last name, Zach
Yeah, I
Milewski.
like that picture on LinkedIn too.
Oh, hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. David made me look nice and
Yeah.
did all the
Hmm.
filtering. So,
Hmm.
uh, but that's mostly where you're gonna find me.
Hmm.
We've got a really cool team. They're very active on social media, and if it's not me, you'll catch David, Nate, Hayden, whoever running around here and just promoting what we've got going. Um,
Yeah, you guys got
you
a lot
know,
of believers, man.
Hey man, I
Like,
appreciate it. I that's refreshing to hear. Sometimes it feels like you're just going,
yeah,
and it's nice to hear, especially from someone like you who's just,
yeah.
you know,
No, we
done
feel
so
it. We
much.
feel the same thing too, and I know you guys invested in us too, and we believe it. We know that you believe in us too. We're pretty far removed. We're in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, in a little office space where we're trying to do something big, and it's nice to know that there's people out there listening, watching, and believing in us too. So we really appreciate it. If you have any interest in checking out Zach and what's going on, be sure to check out everything they have going on. You'll find Eight Figure Paver, SpotOnSite, NPP, Zach Milewski. You can check it all out
Absolutely.
online
Yes.
everywhere. Yeah. At what Apps and Asphalt, the podcast too, right? Yeah. I was on that
Yes,
one.
asphalt. That's kind of what spun up Eight Figure. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, apps and
Conversations,
asphalt.
dude.
Hey,
Conversations
hey,
make things happen.
absolutely,
It's all
man.
about the network. Alrighty.
Yep.
Well, for myself, for Zach Milewski, this is Blacktop Banter. And as always, we speak asphalt. Peace. We've had our 800 network phone number on the side of our trucks and equipment for a while now. And having branding power over your competition who has a complicated phone number versus 1-800-ASPHALT or 1-800-BLACKTOP makes it easy for people to remember, and all the calls go directly to you. Plus, when you join the 800 Pavement Network, you're joining over 300 pavement contractors who have generated over $2 billion in combined total sales. You can call 1-800-PAVEMENT or you can go to the website 1-800-PAVEMENT.com and you'll find them. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know that I've been using Stencil Plus for years. They have everything I need for line striping jobs, from multi-piece stencils, stencils with different thicknesses, stencils for the big box stores, custom stencils, and they have free shipping on all orders within the U.S. Plus, for a limited time, friends of this podcast can save an additional 10% on all orders at Stencil Plus. Just use code BB10. That's BB10, as in Blacktop Banter, at stencilplus.com. From spray tips, pour pots, street brooms and handles, flagging tape, chalk lines, and more, Liberty Supply is a one-stop shop for all your asphalt tool and equipment supply needs. They've been an invaluable resource for us, and owners Sam and Mike are great guys. They're ready to help you with anything you need. What more could you ask for? Visit their website at libertysupply.biz or call 800-397-9907 and tell them Marvin sent you.